Hello and welcome to With Bowl and Spoon, a podcast about people's personal food evolution. I am here with my friend Jo. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jo Deming. I'm the Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Food Policy Council. I'm also a North Sider. Been here about 20 years, but I grew up in Minneapolis.
You're the Director of the Food Policy Council, and can you say a little bit more about that role that you play, and what does that mean?
So that means that I get to work with a coalition of folks involved in the food system. And we get to solve problems, identify strategic kind of policy solutions, but it might be a program solution or just might be like a collaboration. These people don't know each other. How do we connect them and, better improve food security as well as the environment and the life of people and all the things that are tied to the food system.
And you've been in this role less than a year, so you're still getting your footing. Yes. So I won't grill you about that anymore.
I am new, yes, so I appreciate that. I think I did an interview like a week into the job on the Confluence, so I'm used to pressing myself, but I appreciate it, yeah.
So you're the Director of the Food Policy Council. Obviously, you have an interest in food, but that's not the only reason that I wanted to talk with you. Yeah. But you have a history in food in other ways. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the city of Minneapolis, in the south side of Minneapolis, and I have 3 sisters. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a pianist. My dad's side come from Mennonite history, so a lot of pastors and farmers, and my mom's side were also farmers. Her grandparents were farmers, but her parents, one was a college professor of math, so her parents kind of entered the professional class as it was. But my dad's side, they still had a massive garden. They raised pigs. They made sausage. They canned all their vegetables. So I would grow up visiting them and experience homemade chicken noodle soup, straight with the gizzard in it, and so.
Was that like the prize? Everybody was fighting over the gizzard?
Yeah, just be like, I hope I don't get that piece. That's why I became a vegetarian. No, but and my mom had a fresh vegetable garden. She was kind of Susie homemaker for my older sisters, but went back to work when my youngest sister was born, and so I mainly remember my dad in the kitchen.
Wow.
We'd grocery shop with him. He would cook. Something he had to step into, knew nothing when he left for college, not even how to make pasta. So that was unique. My dad made a menu and would take us along to grocery shop with him. It included soup, tacos, pasta, stir fry, and pot pies or casserole. And on Sundays, we had roast in the slow cooker. And this is largely what I eat today. Vegetarian versions, of course, minus the casserole. But being the Midwest, we had different types of casserole. There was chicken and broccoli casserole, tater tot casserole, which had meat and cheese, and tuna casserole, which had these little fried onions on top. And of course, at Thanksgiving, we had green bean casserole. We had a lot of frozen veggies. We had special salads on Sundays or special occasions. Those are the ones with the marshmallows and Jell-O and other special things. We had a lot of sugar growing up. We used to have 4 pieces of sugar toast that our dad would make for us every morning. And we ate Hostess snacks with our lunch. And my dad would get all of these cookies from a local factory when they were like a day old. So we'd have these delicious cookies, and then we'd often have Lucky Charms before we went to bed. We had a lot of carbs. We'd often have toast with almost every meal. This explains my sweet tooth. The reason I always liked also to bake cookies and share bake things. So I stepped up. I became the household cookie maker. I was like 7 or 8, and that was my title. At one point, we almost started we did start a sister's cookie company. I think we had maybe 2 sales, but we made these incredible, what are they called? Called like $1 million cookies or something, and you had to shred the chocolate and chop the nuts. Whoa. And they were very intensive. Neiman Marcus cookies. I don't know if you've heard of those. But, yeah, so we had a brief cookie company. Sort of one of my dreams someday, maybe have a bakery. I just love baking. We made our own peanut butter cup recipe, melting chocolate chips, adding peanut butter, more chocolate chips, and putting it in the freezer. That was one of our special inventions that my sister and I used to make. One time I made apple pie, but I used the recipe for inside the apple pie because I didn't know there was a separate recipe for crust. So I made a crust full of sugar, cinnamon, and butter. I put the apples in, added more cinnamon, sugar, and butter. It did not turn out well. I used to also take the insides of Oreos out and put them on the windowsill so that they'd get all warm and puffy, and I said that I was making homemade marshmallows. I would also make cookie dough without eggs, any number of ingredients, flour, sugar, butter, etc., and eat all the batter. Not everyone loves that I love to bake, especially when people are on diets or, trying not to eat lots of things. So I don't do it as much as I did when I was younger, but that's where I got started. And we used to play restaurant. We used to outdoors make tacos out of leaves. I mean, we had a very kind of free childhood where we roamed the neighborhood and roamed the kitchen and had very few boundaries as it was. So
That's a great childhood, yeah. The only thing I know about, I think it was Minnesota, was the hot dish.
Yeah, we had a lot of hot dish, a lot of casseroles, a lot of things called salad, but it was really Jell-O, marshmallows,
right,
and vegetables, or apples, nuts, and marshmallows. Basically, it had to have marshmallows in it,
and then it was a salad.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
the casserole had to have crushed chips on top. It was always some potato chips crushed on the top, or just a layer of it had to have mayonnaise, a lot of mayonnaise in it. So if you had a casserole, wasn't a lot of cheese. Yeah, and then you might put some vegetables, meat. Yeah, but those are the main ingredients.
I love how expressive you are with this. If you guys could see her face, it's amazing. This is some really good food memories you're putting forth here. This is awesome.
Being the Midwest, we had different types of casserole. There was chicken and broccoli casserole, tater tot casserole, which had meat and cheese, and tuna casserole, which had these little fried onions on top. And of course, at Thanksgiving, we had green bean casserole.
Where did you had 3 siblings? Mm-hmm. And where did you fall in the...
I was the younger middle. Third, yes.
Okay.
So, sorry.
I'm doing sibling math right now, and I got it right.
Yeah,
it's tricky.
I was kind of the invisible peacekeeper that kept, everyone. I thought I was so powerful. Kept everybody, in line and getting along.
That's a big responsibility.
Yes.
And then you started making cookies.
Yes.
Because that is how you care for your siblings.
I started caring, for my family, bringing joy and happiness wherever I could go. Yes, cookies are a good vehicle for that.
It's disappointing to hear that you have stopped making those because people don't eat them because they say they're on diets or whatever. Is that what you
Yeah,
you
we
said?
had a lot of housemates, and they'd be like, can you please not bake us something? I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
But I think everybody needs the joy. I think you need to bring that back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We kind of raised my older kid to be more healthy, I guess. And the other day I was on a baking spree. I made banana bread. I made cookies. I made this new creation because I forgot the cookie batter was still in the thing, which was apple crisp cookie dough, like a chocolate chip cookie apple crisp.
Wow.
It was delicious. And then my 15-year-old complained.
The only thing missing from that is pumpkin.
Right.
Somehow, but there's the apple in there, but
yeah. My 15-year-old was like, "Why are you making so many desserts lately? It's not even Christmas or Thanksgiving." And I was like, "Are you complaining?"
How old? You said 15?
15.
No.
So you can't do anything right.
I'm going to take away his 15-year-old card.
Seriously.
Just take it away from him. No, that is not something a 15-year-old says.
No.
Mom, there's too many desserts.
Yeah.
So who are you?
It's happening.
Middle age, straight to middle, 14 to middle age.
I know. So, yeah. And then my younger, my 12-year-old's like, can I have more cookies? Can I have more candy? I need candy. If I mentioned I want candy. So it's the other extreme.
Enjoy that for another 2 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, 2 years left of high school. I went to my friend's house when I was maybe 10 years old, and the mom was trying to help us bake. And I was like, what is she doing here? Like, can't she just leave us alone so we can have free range? No, it didn't work that way. I also got my first job was, aside from the cookie company, working at the Dairy Queen.
Aw.
So I learned how to make cones and blizzards, and yeah, it was a very special place to work. I remember getting my first paycheck. I bought a wallet with it, and I used to get half off treats and give them to my friends. I became very popular with this. So yeah, I ended up doing a lot of food service jobs throughout high school into college. I worked at our school cafe, and I was a vegetarian cook assistant in college, and became a vegetarian because I love animals at like 14 and never stopped. So I will tell you, I was a cookie and bread vegetarian in high school. I didn't start liking vegetables until college.
So when you were a vegetarian,
Yeah.
you didn't eat vegetables?
No, it's like cheese, bread.
Oh, there's that.
Sweets.
Wait, cheese. Oh, I guess cheese is vegetarian. Okay,
Yeah.
so you just steered away from meat,
Uh-huh.
but you didn't eat vegetables.
Not a lot. Just carrots, maybe, or...
But you ate salad still, right? Like the
Yeah,
ones
not
with
regularly.
the marshmallows? That you
Oh,
were
yes,
talking about?
definitely. Definitely the Midwest salads. Yeah, and then I remember the only beans I liked were Bush's baked beans, which are like super sugary, and so I put those in tacos in college as like my bean. That was my first like entree, and yeah, so then I started liking black beans. I thought tofu was disgusting. After 3 tries, I started liking tofu. Someone added sugar and soy sauce. Yeah, and I thought seitan was disgusting, and now I love seitan. Like, it's just, you can never...
That's
you can
the
adapt.
vegetarian evolution, yeah. For sure. I mean, this is about people's personal food evolution. So you went from
Regular meat and
hot
potatoes.
dish and
Yes.
salads, Jello salads,
Yes.
to vegetarian, and
Now
now
I'm largely vegan because I live with my husband, who's now largely vegan, gluten-free, and a vegan 15-year-old. And
inspired by your 15-year-old.
Yes,
Become
yes,
vegan. That's
yes.
fantastic. I love that.
yeah, they made me watch a very traumatic documentary, and I was fully vegan for like 5 months until I missed pizza.
Cheese.
Cheese.
And I say bacon, but whatever. There's a lot of vegetarian options for that.
Yeah, bacon was hard to give up, and the Target corn dogs, those were my favorite.
Oh, that's funny.
A special treat.
Wait, when did you ever eat the Target corn dogs?
As a kid, when we went to Target once in a while, it was a treat.
Wow, I feel like Target is such a new invention. It couldn't possibly
Really?
have been around when you were a kid.
Well, I'm from Minnesota, which is the birthplace of Target.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it must have been there first.
Yeah.
Oh.
If it was the birthplace, for sure.
The thing that I really want to bring to Pittsburgh, again, it's not healthy, fried mini donuts. In Minnesota, it's very big. Soda. It sounded like...
You did say it totally perfect. I was like, I love that so much.
Soda. At the Cub Foods, they had mini donuts, fried mini donuts. At the county fair, they had mini donuts. And there's just not enough fried mini donuts around here. I had one at a Butler County fair, but I'd love to have like a vendor at the farmer's market and just sell fried mini donuts. So it's such a special memory.
I just saw that there was an event this weekend that I missed where they were doing like cider donuts.
We had in Michigan, every apple orchard has cider donuts made with apple cider. And you had my homemade ones when you were here, didn't you?
I did.
Yes.
I did.
They were like a day
really
old,
good.
so they might not have been totally fresh, but yeah, they're so fun.
Well, you have plenty of apples. Your whole family is vegetarian? Have your kids gone rebellious and eaten meat?
Not yet. One became rebellious and became a vegan. The one that doesn't want sweets in the house. But no.
Okay, then.
Maybe my younger one will do it eventually.
I did not see that coming.
I know. He takes all our values.
Opposite rebellion.
They take our values to the next level. Mm-hmm.
And then his kid will be paleo.
Probably. It just won't eat anything.
Yeah.
Only raw food. That'll be the next iteration.
Oh my God, you're right. There is more.
Yeah.
There is definitely more you could go down that way. Anyway, I mean, all good. It's all good. I'm not judging. Let's talk about when you moved to Pittsburgh, because to me and a lot of folks, food is not just sustenance, but it's community. And you moved to Pittsburgh and you wanted to create community. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I majored in social work, met my husband in the program. He was one of 4 guys in a 40-person program, so I really lucked out, I think. And I kind of got in with his friend crew, which were all these kind of change the world kids that wanted to do good things in the world. And we looked at Philly and Pittsburgh and really just fell in love with Pittsburgh when we came. I worked on summer staff at the Pittsburgh Project with him one summer. Really liked working with the kids and living on the north side. And so once our friends agreed to move to Pittsburgh, it was just kind of going to be where we moved.
So what appealed to you about Pittsburgh?
I really liked how green it was, the hills, the rivers, the Three Rivers Arts Festival, something I really enjoyed. The kids that I work with, they were second graders, and they were just delightful. And then all my coworkers at the Pittsburgh Project, it just seemed like this nice kind of interracial community that reminded me of my home. And it had this Midwestern feel compared to Philadelphia, where we ended up going to grad school. Pittsburgh was like more friendly than the East Coast. And so, yeah, the neighborhood on the north side just sort of felt very similar to my own growing up. Felt like home.
So how many of you moved to the north side?
I don't know. It started, Kim was here first with 2 or 3 people. We went to grad school, came, and another, I think we had up to like 20 friends in the north side at one point.
Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of like Friends, the show. We started the coffee shop. You'd always see your friends in the coffee shop. It was a fun period of time.
You started a coffee shop.
Started a coffee shop. So yeah, religion, social work majors, starting a business. We had wanted to initially we wanted to live together in a co-housing situation, like a commune or something. But I had just gotten married, and I'm like, I don't want to share my husband with all of you. I'm trying to get a little time alone. So I kind of nixed the commune. So we were like, well, if we had co-housing and then we had a business, we could, fund our housing or fund things in the community that we wanted to invest in. So that's how we came up with the coffee shop originally.
And you had a history of businesses with your other food businesses that you've had.
Yes, my cookie company, thriving. But yeah, we had not a lot of history with businesses. We had, I did have grant writing experience from college. So one day we walked down Buena Vista Street and there's this building and it says, do you want to start a coffee shop? So it's the Northside Community Development Fund. So we went and asked them and they said, yeah, we could rent this to you for $500 and we can give you a loan, but you have to match it. So we're like, hey, $500 rent seems very cheap and we don't have any money and we don't own a building. So why don't we just start renting the space? We needed about $30,000 we estimated to start the business. We got $15,000 would come from the loan, and $15,000 we did a handwritten crowdfunding campaign that we physically mailed letters, asked for money, and we raised the other $15,000.
And what year was that?
2005. And it took us about 2 months. We built out the counter and we got the refrigerators and the equipment, and one of us took the health department class, and other people we brought in to train us how to actually make lattes. I had also worked in a coffee shop in college. So yeah, we brought in our friend who ran a coffee shop in Brighton Heights to train us, and we brought someone from a coffee shop in Michigan to come down and train us from college. We worked with a local lawyer who we knew through a church to incorporate as a LLC where we all had equal ownership in the business. Then we had consensus meetings where we made decisions about the business, and They might be 3-4 hours long. It was just so much talking.
Well, consensus is hard to come to.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure Kim told you folks weren't compensated very much for working there. We did not have health care. A couple people was their full-time job. Gavin and I were more back end. So I did the business plan, the Small Business Development Center at Juan Garrett's organization, Three Rivers Innovation. They helped us with our financial projections. So we got our business plan together. We got our loan. We purchased our equipment. We painted. I remember the night we put this paper sign up that said Beleza Community Coffee House coming soon. And it was just like, no, we got to do it. We told everyone. So it was kind of nerve-wracking, and a couple of months later, we opened.
It's a good motivator. Say it out loud in front of people.
Yes, and then we had, we would take tabs so people could, rack up $20 and pay it up once they got to $20. We sold coffee for $1 and lattes for $3. We really we wanted to make it accessible. We had flavor shots for kids, and we had folks that were squatting in buildings that would come in. We had kids from the neighborhood. It was a nice community coffee house. Yeah. 3 years.
I love that story of your coffee shop. And also, so how many, you said you were giving me the grand total
there
of
were
all
7
the people.
owners. We were the original 7, I guess. We started the coffee shop.
And then over time, you've gotten another 13, 14 people to move to Pittsburgh from that. I'm sure all of those baristas you brought in to train you were probably being recruited to move to Pittsburgh.
Pretty much everyone was being recruited.
Yeah, that's great.
But we, some of the folks, moved on, and you might want to know what happened. Why didn't we last longer than 3 years? Did Kim cover this?
Business is hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she did, and for listeners, you may recognize some of this story. Not exactly, because Kimberly Bracken, who I interviewed on this podcast, did talk about this a bit. She was one of the partners, and she was one of the full-time staff there.
Yeah.
Who lived above the store, and she talked about that. But no, I'm not sure if she mentioned how it sort of transitioned.
And I think I may have told you this story before, but it had to do with upsetting our neighbors by getting involved in local politics, particularly around affordable housing and supporting homeless people. And we were caught petitioning outside of a meeting, picketing. We were caught picketing outside of a meeting, and someone posted on the neighborhood chat that the Beleza people are picketing. And we ended up getting partially boycotted from some of our neighbors, which was just enough to reduce our profits so that we couldn't stay open.
That's sad. So you were recognizing the gentrification that was happening and trying to fight back about that.
Exactly.
And
it wasn't popular. Yeah. I was also on the neighborhood board, and we were working on this whole housing preservation plan and a community land trust plan, which if we had put it in place would have preserved over 300 households. And so it's just kind of heartbreaking that effort got stymied by profit interests.
It is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To just have to be you could have fixed it. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to go over here.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the same time, it closed your coffee shop, which is really sad.
And it was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because people weren't getting paid a ton, and we're kind of ready to move on, and having consensus decisions for 3 years is kind of tiring, and we had a baby, and our lives were moving on too. And now one of those people is a lawyer, one's a therapist, one's a teacher, so everyone kind of moved on to different things. And Gavin and I continued in the nonprofit sphere. And we lived in that community. We were part of the community garden down there. And Gavin took it upon himself to start clearing vacant lots, first next to our house and then all around our house. And we talked about maybe we do want to live more in community. And we were told about a farmhouse up the hill, so we moved up here. And now Gavin is caring for vacant lots all over the city, which is maybe another a podcast with the goats. So,
well,
how we got up here.
I was thinking about goats. I know it's Gavin's business, but you house goats, and you also have chickens, and so you've got this really great farmhouse here. I really wish everybody could be here with us with this laden apple tree and all these pawpaw trees. How many pawpaw trees are in that?
I think like 7.
Cluster, 7.
Yeah,
it's
7,
beautiful. And you've got just this really great view and trees and birds and chickens.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had
raspberries. The
wow.
raspberries and the
my
maypops.
goodness.
Yeah, that's a raspberry patch.
And the maypops are on the fence.
They're
right?
down here, on the fence.
Oh,
That's
okay,
that furry bush.
Mine didn't get furry. Why not? Okay, I'll have to figure that out.
Might be 2 plants mixed in.
Maybe. But it seems like your childhood, this is just like natural progression to have a farmhouse and essentially an urban farm as your home.
It's really a match between Gavin's childhood and mine, because I definitely grew up in the city with not a huge lot with a garden, and he grew up on a farm. He had their own family garden, and then there would be like private acreage behind them with corn and soybeans and stuff. So yeah, this is kind of like our compromise. But we really lucked out with this property, and we've had like 1 to 5 housemates, which helps us also provide affordable housing for our friends and neighbors, and it's been a really great spot. I think Gavin had more of the vision for the urban homesteading, and I've kind of gotten to come along for the ride and learn and grow and appreciate everything that's around us.
So that was a transition for you. It was a
Yeah.
kind of maybe a struggle at points. Not that I want to get into drama or anything, but I'm curious about how that was.
Well, I didn't understand the vision at first, like when he started clearing out the woods and moving brush, and I was like, just what's happening? And we got to get all these ash trees cut down, and then we got like 78 different types of trees planted, and now it's like beautiful back there. And I'm like, oh, you saw this in your head the whole time? Like, I didn't know, So I think it's, it's in his head, and then I get to, when it comes out, I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, this is what you're envisioning, and it's beautiful, and how can I help? And yeah,
so you married a visionary.
Yes.
And you're living in his vision. This is
and
good.
Then I'm like, is this really me? Like in the kitchen, like trying to find an egg in my chicken, and I don't know why it's disturbed. And
you mean like a deep dive into the chicken to find
maybe.
the egg that's not coming out?
Yeah. What's happening to my life right now?
So how long have you guys had chickens?
We've had them maybe 5+ years. Yeah.
And the motivation for chickens was just
local
part
eggs.
Of the eco? Okay.
Yeah, local eggs. Then we got the ducks. I don't know, just to torture ourselves. No, just kidding. They're just for fun. But having ducks in the house when they're young is like a whole nother story.
I love the little they pitter patter around the floor.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so cute.
Yes. We like raise them in our bathtub just to kind of like keep it a little bit clean. But yeah, they're very messy.
What kind of ducks do you have?
I don't know. And honestly, they are no longer with us. We suffered some recent raccoon attacks. We have 2 chickens left. And
wow.
We had 6 and 2 ducks like a month or 2 ago.
Oh, that is really sad.
Yeah.
I hate raccoons.
Yeah.
If it were like a hawk,
right?
I'd be like, okay, you earned that.
Yeah.
A hawk got the I've seen situations like that, but yeah, raccoons are just mean.
Yeah.
And they don't even eat it.
Yeah.
At least the hawk is doing it for food.
But I should say, too, we got involved with Ballfield Farm when the Pittsburgh Project owned it, and we're in walking distance, and we've stayed involved over the years. It's probably been 15 years or something. That's been a really good educational opportunity for me, because you don't have to know exactly how to do everything, but someone's always leading, and you're learning, and you're coming alongside. And so I've really appreciated all the stuff I've learned, and I've done a lot to build community there. At one point I just had text chains, and I would just, be organizing people to come down and work.
Yeah, I thought you were one of the key players in the Pittsburgh Project, in the Ballfield Farms.
I have been in the past.
Okay.
I'm like as involved on a daily basis. Gavin is like a consistent waterer. He waters the high tunnel.
Oh, that's the crazy thing, isn't it? You get the high tunnel, you're like, woo, extended seasons, but then you're like, oh, I gotta water all year long.
It's the double-edged sword.
Yeah, absolutely. But talk about the founding of Ballfield Farms, because that is a pretty remarkable situation where I think they're going to own the land that it is on. It's on an old city ball field.
Yeah.
Nobody was using it. No teams were using it. So
yeah,
how did that come about?
The Pittsburgh project identified it as a place where some agriculture could happen. Mark and Courtney Williams were working there at the time. They had started an ecology program. There were boxes across the street. But then they found this ball field and had a vision for how that could be turned into a farm. And it just has great, high fences that we have seen groundhogs climb it. But in theory, it can keep a lot of animals out. Climbing. I know they're climbers. They climb my trees.
Ground hogs.
Yes.
It's in their name. What are they doing climbing?
They've adapted to Pittsburgh. I don't know. So I don't know. They identified this and they were engaging young people from the Pittsburgh project, learning about ecology, selling that food at a farm stand on Charles Street, partnering with the food bank to provide some additional food. It's really cool. But then I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years, they weren't able to sustain it, and they were spending so much time, running a farm and didn't have the funding at the organization to sustain it. So they said, well, we've created this beautiful community asset and we've engaged volunteers in this work. Why don't we turn it into a volunteer-run farm? So they stayed engaged as volunteers. They built some a voluntary structure, and then people began becoming members and committing time to work the farm. And it's been like that ever since. Mark and Courtney Williams were leaders at that farm, and Courtney did some classes on gardening that were really instrumental for, Gavin to learn different things about composting. And Carol Gonzalez is now one of the lead volunteers. She's in Manchester. She coordinates it, and her husband Henry do a whole lot to keep it running.
So it's a membership that you pay with your labor as opposed to paying dollars?
It's financial and labor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
So it's $15 for an individual for the whole year.
Okay.
So it's not that expensive.
From the history of some of the folks that you mentioned, that they do work in communities, that they work around food access issues.
Yeah.
Was that something that you've always been involved with? I guess your social work background, but how did you become aware of that?
The food access. For me, food access wise, I think I've just always, I grew up in a low-income community, and, I've lived in communities where food has been an issue. When I was young, my parents took me to volunteer at a soup kitchen with my church, and it gave me an awareness of people not being able to have enough food to eat or not having a home to live in. And it never left my mind or heart that those were things that people struggled with. My friend and I, about second grade, we were playing in the snow, and we decided to create a homeless shelter and food pantry. And we built up all these shelves out of snow and walls. And this is Minnesota, so we had a lot of snow. And then we brought all these boxes out, and we created a food pantry with empty boxes from the recycling. But in our mind, this was a real place that people were going to come and they were going to get what they needed. And we really thought the news media was going to come and show up and cover this great new resource in the community. My own personal, professional journey, I've always tried to integrate food into any outreach that I've done. I'm just been aware that people need to eat. But it wasn't really until we did some community planning and also COVID that it became, a lot more visible and apparent.
And what was your role during
So I was the
time?
executive director of the Perry Hilltop and Fine View Citizens Councils. So we were coordinating neighbors to bring meals to each other. We were coordinating volunteers to come to the new food drop locations. We were getting the word out about food drop locations. So we were working with the housing authority on a food access plan as part of a choice neighborhood plan. I'm just looking systemically at how can we improve food access. But being in this neighborhood, it's just very inaccessible for people to get food, and it's an everyday challenge. We have a food pantry on Charles Street that's 2 blocks from the senior center, which you'd think would be super accessible, but it's not. It's on a hill like this, and then, it's very difficult for seniors to get there and back. 2 buses to go like 2 blocks.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people don't consider when they're like mapping Pittsburgh is the hills. And we actually did map the elevation in the Feed Pittsburgh report.
Yeah.
That was a consideration.
Yeah. I had to have a wheelchair briefly, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. I can't imagine just needing to wheelchair around my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I saw a man at the bus. I was like, how did you even get here without
down your driveway
crashing? Unless you have an electric one, yeah. I was trapped in my house. Like, that step, I couldn't even, get in and out of my house.
That is a big step, though.
I know it is.
You have to ramp it off.
So, yeah, it gave me a new appreciation for how challenging it is to get around, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because a lot of people don't put that together as far as, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but, people know that, people are hungry, but they don't really register that it's something that is multi-layered. Like, the reasons for them having, no food is so many different layers.
Right.
Like, it's you're talking about the location of grocery stores and the ability for them to get there, but then can they afford it? And then if they can afford it, can they prepare it? Do they know all of these different layers?
Yeah. And I think I've often worked on the bigger issues related to hunger, the root issues, poverty, affordable housing. If you can afford your home, and you have more money to afford food to live in your home. And I focused a lot on housing because of the trauma that eviction brings and how much that affects people's abilities to have their needs met. They can get their benefits cut off. They can lose their, food benefits. It's just can be very traumatic. And then it makes it so much harder to get housed and get stable and get food. And so a lot of when I haven't been doing community development, I've been focused on housing advocacy. So I was at the Housing Alliance for 5 years, leading a coalition of housing advocates. It reminds me a lot of this work. And I hope to connect and interweave a bit more with this work, because I think the two are really connected.
It's great that you have recognized that food is part of all of those things. And that's the connection that I think is really necessary in the food work. Yeah. So many people don't recognize that, the food is one of those things that if you don't have it, that's just the first rung of trauma. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's air, water, food, and food is the only thing that, we don't take for granted. We think, we have to go buy it.
Yeah.
And then anything after that, if you don't have food, you're not really caring about housing. You're not really caring about a car. You're not really caring about if you have a bus pass or not. Food is one of those things that you will be traumatized because your biologic needs aren't being met.
You need energy to do anything. It gives you energy. It gives you life. Yeah.
And just the concept of not having food is just completely foreign to people.
Yeah. Right. People say, are people really hungry? Yes. And especially...
Well, hot dogs are just $1 down at get-go.
Right. Just live on those all day long.
Where do I get the $1 too?
Yeah, we were... we partnered with Thrive 18 during COVID, and we would get referrals from them to get food. And, a lot of times it was, folks that their money ran out for the month, the end of the month gets really tough. And you're like, well, I need to make it through the weekend, or I need to make it 5 more days. So those kind of things. And then I'm also a deacon at my church. And so we have people that are like, can I get a Giant Eagle gift card? I just need, I'm going to get some money in a couple of days. And it's just a lot of kind of gaps out there. And
Yeah, and then the stigma of all that, of having to ask for help,
right.
and how many people, if one person is asking for help, 10 people need it that aren't going to ask.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah. And then what options do they have, and what kind of foods do they like you said? Can they prepare it? Yeah.
So what is the answer to solving all these problems?
That is
what we gotta figure
our
out.
job.
Yeah.
To figure it out. Once we solve poverty, we'll have solved it all, right?
I saw somebody on LinkedIn this morning posted, somebody actually from the mayor's office was at a conference, and they were like, these are some big,
yeah,
takeaways, and one of them was like, charity is not going to solve systemic problems, and I'm like, duh.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We all know that. We've been saying that.
Well, the same instruments that so many instruments that create the need for charity. There's so many, our corporate structure and what they pay people and the government assistance, they're all creating that need for charity. And it's if we were able to change those systems, we wouldn't need charity. Yes, we'll always need charity. We'll always need food assistance for folks, but hopefully we can change the system enough that it's not a normal thing. It's sad too, because people feel so good about giving charity. It's but also if you paid people more, we wouldn't need to do this. But it makes me feel good. Well, make me feel good to pay people well. Yeah.
Do better.
Yeah. Yeah, our system is really built on low wages, and that's a big problem, and we have to subsidize everything else as a result.
Yep.
The generosity during COVID was encouraging. We learned that when there is a will, when people feel that this is a problem that we all have or could face, everyone's willing to pitch in. Everyone's generous. The government can cut red tape in ways we never knew. And so if that is possible, that gives me hope. Because it's really a lack of will and not a lack of ability.
Yeah, we got SNAP online.
Right.
SNAP was accepted online, and that was oh, we can't do that. We can't. No way. Well, no, now you can. And my favorite result of something that came out of COVID was telehealth. That you could have doctor's appointments online, because the reason you couldn't do it before COVID was because the insurance companies wouldn't reimburse doctors for that appointment for that time.
Right.
And they had no choice during COVID, because that was the safest way to do it.
Right.
And so now that's not going away.
And kids have laptops and they can learn and not be disadvantaged because other kids have laptops, and and we can feed everyone. We could have fed everyone, right? You didn't need an income requirement. You didn't need to fit in a box. It was just, okay, you need food. There's no paperwork. Things like that.
And I love that restaurants were just making meals and giving out little pack meals.
Right. And it was
so
supporting
cool.
the economy, because it was engaging all these entrepreneurs. And it was wow, we can coordinate like this. We can support our local businesses and feed people. Yeah. So as terrible as the time was, there's lessons learned, and it gives you a vision of what's possible, and it also makes you realize that nothing's impossible.
Yeah. The negative part about after pandemic is that how quickly people forget. Yeah.
And they took away the benefits.
This is all gone.
Took away.
You're fine now, right?
It's kind of like your parents, they were here's a little extra support, and then they just took it all away, and they're no, go ahead, do well, and you're but I do need some support still, and you're just leaving home.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you about, food-wise? You seem to have these little pockets of amazing food system knowledge and work that you've done.
I was thinking about another two-headed coin situation. One is the disinvestment in food apartheid communities like this, and it's just been devastating and systematic and racist. And the other head of that coin is the Food Justice Fund, looking to address some of that and be just, focus on justice, and hopefully start building track record of investment where other dollars follow. But what I mean is people don't invest in these communities because they don't trust these communities. And so can we start to trust these communities to solve their own problems? Can we start to trust, once we see that communities are capable?
It's kind of this along the same lines as how incorrect the term food deserts were.
Right.
Like these are not deserted, desert, however you want to, they're not deserts either, but they're not lacking life and vibrancy and community. And there are systems set up within the community that are serving those residents that we just don't see.
Right.
Because we're looking at it through our lens. Like whoever we might be, the government, the nonprofits, the organizations that want to come in and help and tell people how to do it. How is this fund going to express that trust or express that support of that community and of those systems?
Yeah. Well, I think having a governing board with a significant number of community representatives will help. What we propose, that's the bulk makeup of the governing board that would make recommendations. So I think that's huge. I think pushing the opportunities to grassroots groups so they know about them, and that work's already begun, and we don't have an RFP, but it's like we start to make those connections now. People are more likely to be able to access the funds, making sure that it's hopefully not a complicated application process. And then getting some wins where people are like, this is what we're able to do, and hopefully amplifying those wins. And people, a lot of times funders are like, well, who else is funding you? Now people could say like, well, this is. You have one, you built trust with one fund, like that's really all you need. One funder. It's like if I go to my friends and I'm like, hey, could I borrow $50? And they're like, well, is anyone else giving you? But once one friend does, it can be like, well, Susie's giving me some, and will you give me some? So it's just, I think investment leads to more investment, and trust leads to more trust, and you have to kind of start small.
And what sort of operations or projects are you hoping to fund to sort of set the groundwork? I guess I would think that would be a way to go about it, is you set the groundwork and then other organizations can build on top or under them at some point. I think we have a list of like 250 grassroots, many Black-led grassroots organizations. I don't know exactly what will be the first. I imagine people working on food access, but I also imagine people that are working with youth to do gardening, or maybe some of the composting initiatives, nutrition education. I mean, it could really, there is a wide breadth of opportunities. So I wouldn't want to put it into a box, but I think it's to be seen. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about, though, that the charity isn't going to necessarily solve any of these systemic problems. So if you're focusing on food access organizations or people providing food access, that's kind of not solving the systemic problem. So how is that going to translate? I think too that's one reason we need to build the fund and have opportunities for businesses, because part of it's the economic growth and opportunity. So having loans and grants for businesses, that's one of the kind of longer term strategies. We were looking at a recent opportunity from the Reinvestment Fund around the healthy food financing to kind of grow that pot in that way. Also, if there can be jobs, and I think education, like all those things will hopefully help, and just money coming to neighbors doing work, because a lot of people have just been working so long and making no money and just trapped out of their hearts. So if they're able to make some money, that is actually going to help their living situation. So is the Food Justice Fund going to help to fund staff? Because that's something that a lot of the other funding options, we just talked about that last week, like the other funding options do not pay for the labor. They'll give you irrigation systems and fences till the cows come home. Right. But they won't pay for anyone to grow anything in that hoop house. Right. Yes, I would definitely see that happening. That's great. Yeah. That'll be groundbreaking. Yeah, and that'll complement some of those other grants that are narrow. You've got $3 million that will be flooding into these communities and hopefully helping them out and in the next year, making systemic change. Yeah. And we're also hiring a grant writer, 2 grant writers. I'm coming on any day now.
And so they'll be able to help some folks with their applications too, which would be really helpful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about?
Oh, I will tell you kind of a fun story. During the pandemic, my oldest, who we've talked about, started making their own ginger ale. And so we kind of created a little mini business where we had members and we delivered 10 to 12 drinks a week. And we'd use reusable glass jars. And so it was called Meg and Freddie Co. It was a little business that my kids ended up running for like a year and a half every week, delivering drinks. They made about $35 to $40 each a month. And like, it was great. It was how they made money, and they got into the food business. And I started dreaming like, well, how do we get this bottled? How do we get this, what's the next level? And I was like, no, it's too much. We got to just shut it down.
So was it ginger ale? Was it naturally carbonated? So they'd put the fresh ginger there, close it, and then let it ferment.
Add
and then
sugar. Add sugar throughout the week. And then they ended up mixing it in with like a fruity tea as like a mix in. So it was they called it wild soda. There were different flavors. We'd have peach berry, and every week would be like different one, and blueberry, raspberry, and ginger, and yeah.
So kind of like kombucha, but more sugar.
Yeah, but
sweets.
Ginger based. I think kombucha is what yeast, or what the mother is.
Tea based. Yeah, it's a SCOBY. The
SCOBY, yeah. So this is like from the ginger itself.
And what's on that?
The ginger just ferments. Eats the sugar. I don't know. Ask my 15-year-old.
We'll ask the kids. That's great. Yeah, I love fermenting stuff. All right. Well, this has been really nice. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Everyone knows that food is food. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced, and hosted by me, Shelly Danko Day. Copy editing by Carolyn Ristow. Details reviewed. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul Labrise and Friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram, or on our website, withbowlandspoon.com. Thanks for listening.
Bowl and spoon. Bowl.
I have one dinner memory of my dad making stir fry, and my little sister, didn't want to eat it. And she saying, I don't want to have this. And my dad saying, just eat your dinner. And my sister's picking at her food with her fork and says, but they have eyes. And my dad said, no, they don't. Just keep eating it. And he started looking at it, and he noticed there were these tiny black dots on the rice-like pieces. And he went into the cupboard and pulled out the bag, and the maggots were just squirming everywhere. And we all just wanted to throw up. Thus to say, we did not eat any more of our stir fry that evening.